Alrighty, Carts. We are in the absolute midst of the freezing cold. I don't know what it's like down where you are, wherever you are. It is freezing cold up here in my place, mate. But here at Any Given Sunday, we are proud to be supported by one of Australia's fastest grooming men's brands, Nut Care. It is important, even though it is cold, mate, to keep it, all groomed and trimmed down there just for your special woman or man, however, which way you go. But with us and Nut Care, we are taking down under grooming to the modern day man. It's recently been voted, again, number one by the Australia's Men's Health magazine. With the Bare Nuts pubic hair removal cream, Nut Care is revolutionising men's grooming. As proud sponsors, 10% off just by using our code Any Given Sunday at the checkout. And always remember, Carts, that Nut Care is essential grooming for men.
Brown 45! Brown 45! Hot, 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 hot!
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, Australia.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Any Given Sunday Australia podcast. The number one podcast in at least 3 households, 1 studio, Gridiron Australia head office, and definitely the NFL Australia head office. But Carts, as we sit down and do this interview episode, I should say, we are also big in, I want to say France. Would I be right in saying France?
Yes, because last known sighting, he had a big juicy baguette standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. So I've got to say that's probably France.
100% it is in France. Daniel has taken his Daniel leave for the... How many
He
years? We've been doing it for
seems
3
to get
years.
3 times more than what appears that everyone else gets, but that's okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, no, good luck to him. He's the youngest of us, so he gets to spread his wings and go out there and enjoy the world. Joining us, as always, as I've just mentioned, down in his basement, wherever that is, at Tim Carty, AGSAU. How are you, mate?
Howdy, mate. Good and good. Going good.
Danny is not with us. He is off jet setting again. I believe it's a wedding that he's over there in France for, so good luck to him. But we have jumped on just to make sure that we are ticking it over. There is a couple of big stories that we got to come across. The biggest one of all is, as of we're recording right now, it is 10 weeks. 10 weeks till kickoff in week 1. We do have some playoff games that have been announced. Preseason games that have been announced, which is exciting.
Letting the script go already? The playoff games?
Yeah, I know. I told you, we're big. NFL Australia is growing, and so they're starting to leak a few things out this way. So we do know who is playing off in the playoffs, and I'm happy to report that the Packers will be deep. I can't say much for your Raiders, mate. Apologies.
Deep into their off-season celebrations, I think.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong. No, Jordan Love's going to have a massive year. Some stories that I just wanted to tick off for us. Getting into the middle of the off season.
It's the end of June. It's hype season, like you said. There's stories, but there's not really stories going around. So
it is the hardest time of year for us to actually get much out there. So we've come up with 5 quarterback storylines from the off season so far. I think one of the biggest ones, and the guys down, I'm going to say south. It still counts as south, I think. Trevor Lawrence signing a massive 5-year, $275 million contract.
well,
What are your thoughts, mate? Have they made the right call there?
they're definitely south. Well, he was the next kind of one in line. There's still a couple others to go, which we're going to maybe touch on in a minute. But it's like for teams signing their franchise quarterbacks, it's you want to go early because once the market gets reset, it's like you've got to reset it again. I think he said 55 million a year for 5 years, and that's reset the market. He's now the highest paid quarterback in the league, like average per year. Do I think he's worth it? I think that's just market value now. The market had been reset. He's definitely their franchise guy for the next. They're probably hoping 10 years plus, whatever.
At least 5 years.
Definitely 5, but 10 plus. Moving forward. And we always talk about the kicking the can down the road sort of idea of there's always ways to play with the salary cap and move money around and create spaces in the cap and things like that. But I think for the Jags, it's the right move. Definitely, he's their guy going forward. He's shown he can take him into the playoffs. And I think they've won a playoff game, yeah, correct?
Yeah, they had that big comeback against the Chargers a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so he's got a playoff win under the belt. I think definitely the right move and awesome for Trev getting paid, I think.
And he just had, I don't know if you saw, I saw it this morning, he had other big news. Did you see the big news coming out of the Lawrence camp?
Oh, no.
Little baby on the way for him and his wife. So
he's ticking all life goals at the moment. He's set. Well done.
Yeah. Big congratulations to him and the family. Question on the, like you said, we're going to talk about the next possible resetting of the market. But what are your thoughts on, I reckon we spoke to Loz Haresh about it as well, the QB having their own salary cap compared to the rest of the squad? Because, like you said, it just keeps going up, and Tua's coming up. We're going Dak Prescott's next year. Brock Purdy's not far away. These guys, it's going to be $60-70 million soon.
Well, I think I like the overall salary cap is growing as the TV rights deals continue to grow, and that's fine. But I think I like the idea of having a separate cap solely for the quarterbacks. They're taking such a large percentage of the overall cap. I think it just makes sense to be able to have a separate one, and then the rest, like other guys on the roster can maybe get a bit of a bigger slice of the pie, perhaps, or just get paid a little bit more equitably. Like, I guess
it just feels like if you don't make the most of like Brock Purdy at the moment, like it happened with the Seahawks. Russell Wilson was elite in his first 2 or 3 years. As soon as he got paid, it's got to come from somewhere else, and then the team drops off, and you just...
And rightly so, like, your star wide receivers or, defensive players in the secondary, like they rightly want to get paid and deserve to get paid and should get paid. But when there's not the money there, it's so hard. Like, it is a business at the end of the day, and you're not going to stick around for loyalty. Like, it's few and far between guys that take pay cuts to keep teams together to win championships. Like, at the end of the day, they've all got to go get the money. They call it the not for long league, for a reason. So guys are pretty highly motivated by getting paid, and it's totally fair enough, I think. So that might ease a bit of that pressure, having a standalone quarterback salary cap. How it looks, I don't know. But I think it would be a good move going forward for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of the next in line, in your eyes, Tua, is he our next $50 million man?
Yeah, without a doubt. So he drafted in 2020, so he's coming up to the end of his rookie contract, I believe. So due to I guess start negotiations, or probably in the middle of negotiations, maybe, who knows? And he is 100% going to be the next $50 million man. Whether they go and match Trev and what the Jags did in 55, or if it just sits around that sort of $50 million mark. But he led the league last year in, I think, passing yards. And, he's got the cheetah, so he's got an absolute weapon in Tyreek Hill. So that definitely helps. But he's ticked a massive box in that he played and started in every game, because that was a big question around his durability. There's obviously still the questions around he's had a few concussions and things like that, and what that looks like long term. But I saw, I think, one article saying, if Miami sort of hold out and he has another breakout year and stays injury free again, he just increases his value again. So it's sort of probably the smarter move business wise for Miami is to sign him sooner rather than later. And then, because he could have the potential to have another absolutely huge year, and his value increases massively. And there's going to be teams sniffing around for, he sort of would be getting into that veteran sort of quarterback category. So there's going to be teams that are quarterback needy. The next draft class maybe not as stacked with quarterbacks. So you don't want to sort of flirt with the devil a little bit there by waiting, and potentially all these other things could happen. And so I think the smart move is for Miami to give him his minimum 50 a year on average, and get the deal done sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I like the Patrick Mahomes kind of. If you think he's your man, if you think Trev's your man, go the 9-10 years at $45 million and keep him happy that long.
Well, and that's it. Like, and Pat, I don't know if he's probably even said it. I assume he would be, but he doesn't need. He knows he doesn't need to be the highest paid quarterback. He knows he's the best quarterback, and he's winning championships, and he's got that money over, like you said, 9-10 years. He's getting more money in the long run.
And realistically, if you're out there, we make it sound easy. If you win championships, I'm sure there's money coming in other places as well.
I think there might be. There might be a few other little endorsements and probably, TV deals off the back end, like, moving into the future and things like that. So,
yeah, kick the can down the road. There's always, you get to year 7 and 8, you can always restructure and make some money somewhere.
I don't think he's going to be starving.
No, but yeah, I think they need to sign.
Just to the point, like Miami, Tua is definitely Miami's franchise guy. So
I think signing soon because, if they say they franchise him at the end of this year, that's another 2 years. Then Brock Purdy is coming up for his contract. That's only going to go up.
It's going to reset, and it just puts
Prescott's
more
not going
backwards.
Yeah,
I can see like a $50 million 4 to 5 year deal for Tua. Yeah, probably
it'll be $276 million.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know, is that just an ego thing, having to be the highest paid? Like, I don't know, who knows? But
who knows? Speaking of carousels and who knows what's going on, it is close to your heart. The Raiders. What is going on?
My boys.
What are your thoughts? Putting on your Raiders hat that we can see too in the background. What are we doing? Who's going to be the starting QB? Are we waiting for halfway through the year? Are we going to throw money at Tua and see if he wants to come across?
My boys, they were one of the teams that I was kind of alluding to. We've got 2 serviceable quarterbacks, I think you'd say. But like being in the AFC West, we're up against Mahomes. We're up against Herbert and the Chargers. Like, you need that elite level quarterback. And O'Connell, he's still quite young. He could go on and, we don't know where his ceiling is. But Minshew, like, he's like, without being disrespectful, but like he's like a bit of a gap fill, or you know what I mean? Like he can get the job done, but he's not that next level elite quarterback that's going to compete. Like, we can't rely on the defense to win us games against Mahomes and Herbert. Like, we want to be taking it to them and actually winning games off the back of strong quarterback play. So I feel like O'Connell came in when Antonio Pierce took over last year and looked quite good. And that was when, we were a bit of a rabble, the Raiders at that point last year, and Pierce like steadied the ship. So I feel like it'd definitely be competition for the starting, but maybe I could see them going with Aiden and maybe Gardner's there as an insurance policy, as we know, like what he did with the Colts when Richardson went down, and things like that. So yeah, I think maybe probably leaning towards starting Aiden O'Connell, but who knows? But yeah, definitely need a big signing. And as I mentioned before, the 2025 draft class is potentially not looking as strong quarterback wise. So we may need to look at a veteran in the free agency market or something along those lines. So
I don't hate Minshew, and don't know the man, but he seems like the kind of guy that will sit behind Aiden O'Connell and be like, you know what, mate, I'll be your backup for the next 2 or 3 years. We'll watch you grow. I'll come in when you need a hand, but I'll help you grow, because he like you said, he has been a great backup. He started down with the Jags, and Minshew Mania started down there and went across the Colts, and he's the kind of guy that will be
and had some time at the Eagles.
Yeah, well, that's it. Daniel was devastated to lose him, wasn't he? So, I feel like he could be the kind of guy that would sit behind and be that mentor. But
yeah, he seems good in that role. In that he seems ego free, like everything you see of him on interviews and social media and things like that. He seems like the right person for that role, and does have quite a bit of experience that he can impart on O'Connell. So we'll just, I suppose we'll wait and see. But I could see them going with the younger quarterback and having Minshew there as the more sort of security blanket, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%. And look, mid-year, we might see a few things happen, and
things change very quickly.
You never know. If they don't lock up Tua, you just never know. You could be very, very different.
Don't you worry.
They are. We've got to say that Pierce is taking your Raiders in the right direction anyway, I think.
At least, yeah.
No. Number 4 storyline. Now, when this one came across my desk, and I get stuff sent in all the time, I thought it was quite interesting, mainly because, and we're looking at the Giants, Daniel Jones got that 45 million a year, was it? 3 or 4 year deal?
Yeah,
everyone was very, very shocked.
It was a hefty deal.
It was a hefty deal for someone who seemed unproven. And then they bring Drew Lock in on a 1 year deal. And from what his agent has kind of leaked out, that he'll be fighting for the number 1 spot. So to be signing someone to a $3-4 million deal, 3 or 4 year deal, $40 million, and then bring in another bloke
You're
and
not
say,
guaranteed to
fighting
start.
for it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's been conflicting news coming out. Like the Giants GM has come out and said it's Daniel Jones's team. Even I think Drew Lock has come out and said it's still Daniel Jones's team, and he understands and accepts that. And because he had the backup role with Geno and came in and was pretty serviceable at Seahawks, I think. But there's just he's a bit much maligned, Daniel Jones. I think like he's maybe a good way to put it. Who came in for the Giants last year when he got injured? Was it
yes.
the
Italian.
Yeah, it was a flash in a pan, but
Yeah.
People were saying
he beat
like,
the Packers, so
yeah, but like the fans were saying sign him, and like it just shows that the fans aren't sold on Daniel Jones yet, and he's still got so much to prove. But I think it's his starting job. It's his starting job to lose, but I don't think the Giants will just blindly start him week in, week out, knowing that they've got Drew Lock there. They kind of played out the year and just sort of limped to the end of the year kind of thing. I don't know. I can't see them doing that. I think they'll put Drew Lock in if it's not working with Daniel Jones. They did pass up on picking up a quarterback at the draft. So, that I guess is a positive sign for Jones.
they're backing him to a certain extent.
They're backing him to a point. They do still have Lock sitting there on that 1 year deal. So, and I think you need a certain amount of pressure on the quarterback as well. It's not just a given that's a starting spot. You need a little bit of pressure from behind. Not so much that it's creating negative headspace for them, but just a little bit of pressure, pushing them along. You've got a decent backup sitting in the stands. Like I think you just need that little bit just to keep spurring you along a bit.
It was Tommy DeVito for those that are yelling.
I thought DeVito. I didn't want to commit. I didn't want to be like, am I just going with his really stock Italian name?
Start with the hands. But I agree. I think
Cutlets, what they call him. Yeah, that's right.
Because that's right. Having the good QB until you are, Patrick Mahomes or someone of that out, Trevor Lawrence probably into that category now where
until
you are
like
the guy.
Top 5 quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah. You need that iron sharpens iron kind of mentality with the guy behind you. So I think, Drew, if Daniel doesn't perform, Drew's going to be straight up there. And like you said, he was more than serviceable for the Seahawks. So,
and that's it. And it might help show if Daniel Jones has got a bit of fight and got a bit of gumption, a bit of dog about him, and relishes the contest and knows that there's that pressure nipping at his heels, and is he going to step up?
The last storyline for the QBs, which did come from Danny Boy last time, but we didn't get to it. So I'm sure he's actually spewing he can't speak about this. But I figured you...
The Parry hotline.
we used to have... What happened to that hotline? I figured you'd be the best to speak about this. Being a father of 3 smaller children.
Correct.
Patrick Mahomes is coming out. It has been quite a while since the actual photo come out, and he has addressed it a couple of times saying, I don't have a six-pack. I'm not that kind of guy. But there's a lot of chatter of, he's got, was it three rings now? Is he starting to, enjoy his off-season a little bit too much? Is having a couple of kids now, is that taking it away? What are your thoughts, mate? Is he going the back foot, or is he still, there and about?
No, I still back him in. He's still the elite. He's still number one, but it's a little bit of all of that you just mentioned. Life's busier. He's got a couple of little young ones now. They do require a lot of attention. Bloody love their little cotton socks. But he's like you said, he's coming off a Super Bowl win and all their extra stuff that comes along with that. At the end of the season, he's enjoying himself. That's fine. It is a long off season, and it's also a long preseason. And I think off the back of watching quarterback that year that he was in, and you look at the work that he puts in and the extra sessions that he puts in, he's never going to be like your statue of David, chiseled six-pack like that, but he's super functional and super strong in all the right places that he needs to be. So if he's carrying a little bit of a gut or whatever at the moment, or he's just looking a little bit unconditioned, not a worry in the world at this point. We know how much of a hard worker he is. We know how professional he is. Let him enjoy the off season a little bit. He's spending time with his kids. maybe the kids don't finish their meal. Maybe Dad comes along and Dad just has a little
couple of chicken
bit
nuggets.
little bit of first dinner before real dinner, and then that, and it just accumulates. But no, I'm absolutely not worried about Mahomes at all. There, he's an elite athlete, elite performer. He might not, like I said, might not look like the quintessential bloody chiseled abs, all that sort of stuff, but he's still going to come in here and get it done. He'll be still slinging it around. Don't you worry about that.
I only hold him to such high expectations because being around you for so long and knowing, Torquay went pretty well last year, and yet you've still come out and Maxi Rampling shows us photos of you all the time. So we know what you're dealing with, mate. Up in Bali, we saw that. All right, moving on to our way too early, a couple of player awards that I just want to talk about.
Hype season, end of June.
Exactly right.
Let's make some silly predictions. Not so silly, but
well, not even just predictions. Just have a look what people are looking at and what they're thinking. That we always seem to think we're going to go with sports bet today.
Yeah, I love that there's like just markets on this already. Like we're so far away. There's so much to happen before the start of the season, but people are obviously putting money on it early.
Well, but they're thinking about it early too, and I appreciate you talking while I should have had this up and ready to go, but I didn't.
You're the same as Paddy Mahomes. You're a consummate professional.
100%.
No one would have
looked at it though, so I'm not feeling too bad. The first one we're going to talk about, and I like that you've already come out and you've put on there and said who.
I've had a little think about it, and this is without looking at the odds too. So
no, that's even better by you. Here we go.
Even better for mid-year silly early predictions.
So the MVP, we're going to start off straight at the top.
We're going to the top. Okay.
Looking at the odds, the worst 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Shit. The first 18 are all QBs.
Oh, go figure.
Yeah. I wouldn't have had it that way. I wouldn't have thought. There's a couple in there that I'm a bit surprised about. No surprise, Patrick Mahomes, number one.
Yeah.
Coming in at $6 though, that's pretty juicy.
That's still juicy. Because, like we said, anything can happen. But as we know, it's a quarterback-driven league. More often than it's, people call it a quarterback award, the MVP. But we did see last year, McCaffrey got quite high in the predictions and odds towards the end. And Tyreek Hill, he was on track to have record-breaking year. And a lot of people were saying if he breaks this receiving record, I think, was it 2,000 yards?
Yeah.
If he was to break that,
we'll crack that 2,000.
There's a pretty good argument for MVP season right there. So, I get it. There's a quarterback throwing it to him, but it'd just be nice to see a non-quarterback win it for once. And do you want my prediction? Or my early call?
Give us your prediction.
I went with McCaffrey. I'm a bit in the camp of I want to see a non-QB win it. It is massively a quarterback award, and I think you're going to say he must be 19th on the list. He's the first
number 19.
What are we paying?
What would you be happy with him paying?
I mean,
you haven't seen the
people before him. He's going to be pretty juicy. Is he like $60 to $70?
Yeah, $51.
51. Okay.
So there's a couple on the 51, but him and
he's so durable.
Jefferson and Hill are at 101. They're the first wide receivers, and they're the next that aren't QBs. So the rest of them, like the top 4 or 5, you're not surprised. Mahomes, Allen, Stroud, Burrow, Jackson, they're all, $6 to $13. Then it goes
the 18th quarterback. What's their odds? Who's that?
The one right before McCaffrey, Kirk Cousins at 36.
See, McCaffrey should be shorter than him.
100%. Anthony Richardson.
Kirk's going to have a great year. Kirk's going to do well. He's not winning MVP.
He's not.
McCaffrey
Anthony Richardson, second-year QB, coming off a little bit of injury, $36.
I'm putting some money on McCaffrey.
Yeah, fair enough. Tua's out at 26. I reckon that's a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, having the weapons he's got, he's put together a pretty durable year, as we said. I mean,
CJ Stroud at $10, mate. He was coming home late. Everyone thought he was a real hot chance.
He did. A lot stronger schedule coming up this year, though.
Valid point. Great point. Look at you. All right. Offensive player of the year.
Well, they normally go hand in glove with the MVP. So, McCaffrey was going to be my offensive player of the year as well.
Yeah, and you're right. And, of course, they don't have it up straight away for me. So we're going to talk about the defensive player here while I find the offensive. Oh, I found it. Here we go. Christian McCaffrey's number 2 at $8.
Yeah, and because it's a bit more wide open, it's not purely quarterbacks being favoured here.
Well, it's actually the first one. McCaffrey's number 2. He's the first running back, but then it's wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver.
Yeah, so they tend to share the love a little bit here, but who's the favourite?
Tyreek Hill, no surprise.
Okay.
So there's no surprise to this one. Hill, McCaffrey, CD Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase are your top 5.
Yeah.
So Jamar Chase, I think, is a bit of a he had a little bit of a down year, especially with Joey B having obviously been injured,
having missed most of the year,
but coming back, with a vengeance, maybe both of them. So they could be a couple to look at. But then
prove.
Saquon Barkley is number 6 at $13.
Well, we know he's going to get a lot of the rock. So
my one I'm a little bit interested with. Changing teams, Big King Henry, $21. I think if he could come out and, again, you've mentioned that 2,000 yard mark. If he comes out and has a year like that at Baltimore, I know he's on the older side, but he's just going to make.
But we talked about they're going to try and ease the load of Lamar.
That's what I was about to say. He's going to make Lamar's life
Derrick Henry to not use him
a lot easier. Well, but they're going to use him. So he's going to crash the pack, and he's going to. But Lamar's also going to open up space for him as well. So
I know it just one brings the other. But no, I'm staying fat with Christian. You've
doubled up on him.
Double, mate.
$8 into $51. That's going to be a juicy multi for you.
I'll multi that up. Don't you worry.
And hopefully they haven't gotten rid of the defensive player of the year. They haven't. We've got it here. I said to you this one, 5 standouts was not a surprise, and then it really kind of drops down from there. But the top 5, Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, Max Crosby. Not a surprise, those 5.
Yeah.
They're all under $10, and then it jumps out to 13s and 15s for Hutchison and Chris Jones. Who do you think out of those 5 is going to have that, not necessarily a breakout year, but just that top kind of year?
I'm going with my boy Max. He carries the Vegas defense. He embodies the Raider way. And, his numbers last year were incredible, and I think he's going to have another huge year. Like we said, Antonio Pierce is steadying the Raiders ship, and Max Crosby is out there leading the charge. I think Hutch is not a bad smoky outside the top 5 there.
He had
really good numbers. And obviously Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons, those boys are game wreckers. So the defensive one's kind of a fun one to predict. I kind of like watching the defensive boys do well. It's such an offensive-driven game. It's nice to see when the defensive guys can sort of take the game by the scruff of the neck, really, and shoulder the load and just run away with it.
I wonder what kind of year, like TJ Watt's had a couple of record-breaking years the last few years, breaking his brother's records and stuff. What kind of year is a defensive player going to have to get an MVP?
Well, and TJ's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. He feels like he's a bit, I don't know.
Doesn't get the recognition on it.
Not in favour. Yeah, maybe out of favour, like with the NFL or something like that. And he gets half sacks taken off him and stuff like that. But yeah, he definitely plays a bit of a chip on his shoulder. So for a defensive player to win MVP, I mean, you're going to have to see record-breaking numbers across the board.
It'll be 20+ sacks and probably touchdowns. Getting a goal.
It has to be something ridiculous for an offensive player not to win MVP. It's going to have to be something pretty special.
Yeah, I wasn't quick enough. I was going to have a look at something, maybe a cornerback or something like that for defensive, but it's gone. Doesn't matter. All right, this last little bit that we're going to talk about before we come back next week. I've put a list of coaches that I think are on a little bit of a hot seat. And your opinion on whether it is how hot, whether I'm off base a little bit or
we have a hot scale.
Yeah, I've given 5 to 1 on who I think.
Oh, okay.
And then
you might have gone with mild, medium, hot, maybe.
You can do that if you wish.
Perry, maybe
I think it gives
you danger rating, catastrophic to severe.
We're in the blue. We're good.
Okay.
In the red, I think these guys are definitely orange to red, if not yellow to red. There's some guys that I think, and I'll give a little bit of a spiel about each one about why I think they're in it. The first one at number 5, Sean McDermott at the Bills. Into his 9th year, he has a 73-41 record and a 5-6 playoff record. But just the expectation year after year after year and falling that little bit short year after year after year. They made a change last year. Was it OC? They switched it up.
Yeah, it was at Kenny Dorsey.
Yeah, and that did kind of get him going again. But, how many years does he get with playoff failures before it is super hot?
I think, and that's the biggest thing. It's his tenure. So he's been there for 8, coming into his 9th year. And like you said, underperformed. And they've got Josh Allen. So now to be underperforming with Josh that's putting the most heat on him. They've had lots of veterans leave over the course of this offseason. So then how they're going to cover and fill those spots, like it's going to become pretty apparent early in the year. But with Josh, if you're not winning, underperforming, like the Bills Mafia are a great fan base, but they want to see some results. So it's that time at the helm. So yeah, I think underperforming this year, he's going to be medium to hot. I think pressure towards the end of the year.
What's a pass mark for him? Throw you under the bus.
Oh, they have to make and win a playoff game.
Yeah,
have to.
Yeah, I reckon they have to finish high. They can't scrape into playoffs. They have to, for 1 seed in their division.
Make it, win at least one playoff game. But like their wide receiver core has just been completely changed. I think there's only one guy on the roster that's actually caught a pass from Allen in a game. So
wow.
Massive changes there. But then that was where a lot of the off-field news was coming from too. So was that where maybe a lot of the trouble and stuff was?
Yeah, you always saw that was Diggs not happy.
Maybe the Genesis, not getting targets, and then Gabe Davis was so up and down. So maybe that might be a bit of a blessing that those guys are gone. So that'll obviously play out, and I think we'll see pretty early in the year how that's going to look. But yeah, got to make playoffs comfortably and win one.
Yeah, but 10 weeks out, he's in a medium to warm chair. Number 4, and this might be a little bit harsh, and I think this is coming with the expectation of what is going to be happening. It's Matt Eberflus at the Bears. He's in his 4th year. He's got a 10-24 record and hasn't played in any playoffs. So I think the pressure for him comes with the fact that they've got the number 1 pick. They have absolute, and there was a lot of talk about this number 1 pick. Don't put too much pressure on him. But the pressure's come because they've absolutely stacked their wide receiver room. So he has all the weapons ready to go. So I feel like the pressure of, you have to perform straight away, as CJ Stroud did last year. That's where the pressure for Eberflus has come. And if they don't, then I reckon he's in all kinds of trouble.
No, you're exactly right. And they've kind of built the offensive line as well to help him. So I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of with CJ Stroud and what the Texans were able to do so quickly. There'll be that expectation that because Williams is the number 1 pick, he should just come out and straight away do that. They've got the weapons for him. They've got the O-line, things like that. So it's probably not fair, but the pressure will be on Eberflus. I think a pass mark for them is just a winning season. Like, we've got to remember how bad the Bears have been.
Yeah,
I think that's really important because it's context. So we've got to remember how bad they've been. And a pass mark for me is a winning season.
Yeah, well, 10-24. So they're winning 1 every 3.5 games. Yeah. So a winning season.
Unfair, but it's going to be there.
A winning season and some, promising games where they might blow a team out and you think, well, all right, we're on here. Next year is the year. So what kind of seat are we sitting on though?
Medium, just medium hot.
More or worse than Sean?
Not as hot.
Well, I was a bit harsh on the number 4 there. Number 3, and the boy's not here to defend him, which is probably a good thing. But Nick Sirianni, I think, again, the pressure. He's in his 5th year. He's got a 34-17, so quite a he's winning 2-1. 2 and 3 in playoffs, though, is a little. They did make it to the end game, but didn't quite get the job done in the Patrick Mahomes era. I think he's in again. They've lost some pretty cool people. Jason Kelsey leaving is huge. And I don't think we're going to see how huge that is until we're 3 or 4 games in. There might be a little bit of dramas at the line, but they did bring in a lot. Saquon Barkley in the backfield. I think, again, just purely because of the talent they've got, you can't be running 4 or 5 seasons without getting more than what they have so far. 2 and 3 in the playoffs with the squad they've got, I don't think it's good enough.
Yeah, and that's definitely underperforming. And with having Jalen Hurts as your QB, and I think a lot of the pressure comes from the Philly fan base. Like, they're such a passionate fan base; they expect results, and they want to see results. And so, Sirianni's coming into his 5th season. Yeah, 5th year. I tend to agree with that. I think he's going to, if they underperform, he's going to be in a probably a medium to hot seat for sure.
Yeah. What's a pass?
I think they got to get to a conference championship game. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I agree. They have to be ticking a fair few boxes. And again, because they faded, it was the last 6 games, they were like 5.
They had just a massive slump. Yeah.
Yeah. So turning around from there and making playoffs and winning playoff games, turning around that 2 and 3, that's not good enough in my books. But pressure is a privilege, and he's in a good spot. He's going to make the most of it now. Number 2, and now this one's a little bit harsh, I do agree, because of what happened last year. But again, coming into year number 5 for Robert Saleh, 18 and 33 and no playoffs. Playing in 5 years and not making the playoffs. We know that the Jets have sucked. And they did go out and, splash the cash, made the right moves. It didn't work out with only 4 plays for Aaron Rodgers. But I think after that pressure, he had a little bit of pressure relief because of Aaron Rodgers. But I think it now makes it even worse this year to perform. Again, purely the Jets fan base going, it's been 37 years since we've fucking seen anything. I don't know, that was a guess. But the fans' pressure on Robert Saleh would be huge at the moment.
Huge. And you're right. He got a bit of a reprieve when Aaron Rodgers went out last year, but all that did was compound the pressure to being like, well, when Rodgers is back, you better fucking get it done.
Yeah.
And so I think his seat's going to be hot at the end of the year if they underperform. Like you said, they kind of went out and spent a lot, bought a lot in to have around Rodgers, and they kind of put the cue in the racket at a certain point last year, and it was kind of like, all right, let's just finish the season out. They kind of flirted with maybe being able to make the playoffs, if I remember, because remember Rodgers was like, if it's mathematically possible, I might come back early, but in the end, that was never going to happen. Yeah. He's going to be in a hot seat, I think, come the end of the year.
So what's a pass mark?
Have to make playoffs.
Yeah.
Have to.
Yeah. I think having
because if Rodgers gets to the playoffs, having his experience and everything, anything could happen. They have to make it.
Yeah. Having the offensive and defensive player of the year 2 years ago, again, compounding pressure. You've got the weapons. You've got the defense is incredible.
The rookies are great.
Yeah.
Bringing Aaron.
I reckon even more. I reckon almost winning playoff games to be comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, minimum pass is making playoffs.
Yeah. All right. And this one, I am more than comfortable saying.
Hot.
He's in a boiling hot seat.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy at the Cowboys. He's going into his 6th year there. Again, an impressive 42 and 25, but 1 and 3 in the playoffs. And a stat
but you're not getting it done postseason, so
no. And has been, was it 3 or 4 years in a row, 12-win teams, like breaking records for being so good and then bad at the same time. And a stat that I love is that the Packers have won more playoff games in AT&T Stadium than the Cowboys. I love wheeling that one out.
You might need to bust it out to Loz next time he's on.
Yeah, he loves it. I did get to share a taxi with him up in Queensland a few weeks ago, and he didn't love it when I said that. So,
yeah, I know.
But yes, and he will agree. Loz, 100%. I think he's actually off the McCarthy train and already said get rid of him.
And a lot of people were surprised he got this 6th year. A lot of people thought he was going to be out the door. So his seat is, hot. Like, what's a really hot chili? Super hot. What is it? The California Reaper.
The California Reaper or the Mexican chilies or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So pass mark would almost have to be making or winning Super Bowl.
No, again, I think conference championship. There'll be some Cowboys nuffies that it's like, if he doesn't win a Super Bowl, get rid of him. But if they make it to the conference champs, win or lose, I'd say that's enough to make him safe.
Yeah.
But
I reckon there's a lot of people that say
a lot of people that want.
Danny's got the Jets fans. You're gonna have the Cowboy fans coming.
And that's fine, but only one team can win the Super Bowl every year, so people got to temper their expectations a little bit.
I think I am a little bit harsher and saying I think they have to make the Super Bowl.
Got to make it
to be safe. So winning that,
got to win the conference championship. Then
you got to win it. Like you can't just keep getting 12-5 or whatever, 13-4, and then fall short. Like getting beaten by the youngest playoff team of all time.
Yeah,
and absolutely embarrassed in your home stadium as well. So I reckon it's just a compounding thing of being like, you know what, for 5 years you've been there and abouts, and you've shit the bed too many times. So,
what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, well, that's it. It's such a brutal league where it's
a result-driven league, and that's fine. Everyone knows that going in, so that's fine. That's fair enough.
It's fine.
It's fine.
I'll deal with it. All right, mate. Managed to eke out more minutes for this episode than I was expecting, which is huge.
We're bang on our 45. That's perfect.
Congrats to you. Danny will hopefully, he's still away a couple of weeks, but he did say he will try and get on with us. It was just this week was no good for him. So hopefully we get to see
Danny's remote location, Euro location.
Yeah, just spreading the love, like you said, with baguettes and berets around France. So, yeah. I don't know much more to say, mate.
I think it's time to sign it off.
Yeah. All right, fam. We will see you hopefully next week.
Beauty.
Oh, I nearly left it, not stopped.